Welcome back to History Haze. When we think of the causes of war, we think of grand ideals, liberty, territory, or ancient blood feuds. But in 1859, the two most powerful empires on the planet, the United States and Great Britain, found themselves on the brink of a global catastrophe that would have cost millions of lives and hundreds of millions of dollars. The cause? A single, hungry, black-haired pig with a fatal craving for potatoes. This is the Pig War, the most expensive oops in military history. To understand how a farm animal almost ended the world, we have to look at the San Juan Islands, a beautiful cluster of land sitting right between Washington State and Vancouver Island. Back then, the border wasn't clear. Both the Americans and the British claimed the islands belonged to them. Instead of fighting, they decided to try a tense, awkward roommate situation. American settlers moved in to farm, and the British Hudson's Bay Company set up a massive sheep ranch. For years, they lived in a fragile haze of peace. That peace shattered on June 15, 1859. Lyman Cutler, an American farmer, looked out his window that morning to find a large pig belonging to a British neighbor, Charles Griffin, rooting through his garden. This wasn't the first time the pig had trespassed, but it was the last. Cutler, fed up with his ruined potato patch, grabbed his rifle and shot the pig dead. It should have been a simple civil dispute. Cutler even went to Griffin and offered him $10 in compensation. Griffin, insulted by the low offer, demanded $100. Cutler snapped back, "He was eating my potatoes," to which Griffin famously replied, "It is up to you to keep your potatoes out of my pig." The British authorities threatened to arrest Cutler and kick all the Americans off the island. The Americans, feeling bullied, sent a frantic plea for military help, and this is where the haze gets thick. The man who answered the call was Captain George Pickett, the same hot-headed officer who would later lead the legendary Pickett's Charge during the Civil War. Pickett arrived with 66 soldiers and a chip on his shoulder the size of the island. He docked his ship and issued a proclamation. San Juan Island was now American property. He even dared the British to try and remove him, saying, "We'll make a second Bunker Hill of it." The British did not take the hint. They dispatched 3 massive warships, including the HMS Tribune, carrying over 2,000 heavily armed men and dozens of cannons. By August, Pickett had been reinforced, and the island was a powder keg. On one side, 400 Americans were dug into earthen breastworks with cannons aimed at the water. On the other side, 5 British warships with 167 guns were anchored in the bay, their sights trained on the American camp. For months, the two most powerful militaries in the world just stood there. It was a bizarre, high-stakes staring contest. British Governor James Douglas ordered his admiral, Robert Baines, to land the Marines and attack. But Baines, in a rare moment of historical sanity, refused. He famously said he would not involve two great nations in a war over a squabble about a pig. While the generals and politicians in Washington and London were blissfully unaware, the soldiers on the island were actually being quite civil. They would occasionally cross lines to trade tobacco and stories, even as their fingers stayed on the triggers of their rifles. When the news finally reached President James Buchanan, he nearly fell out of his chair. He couldn't believe his country was about to go to war with the British Empire over a farm animal. He immediately dispatched General Winfield Scott, the grand old man of the army, to fix the mess. Scott arrived and successfully negotiated a joint occupation. Both sides agreed to keep only 100 men on the island, the Americans on the south end, the British on the north, until a permanent border could be settled. That temporary setup lasted for 12 years. Finally, in 1872, an international commission led by Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany officially awarded the islands to the United States. The British packed up their sheep and left, finally ending the conflict. In the end, the war had a total body count of exactly 1, the pig. It cost the two nations an estimated fortune in military deployments and diplomatic maneuvering, all over a $100 dispute. Today, you can visit the San Juan Island National Historical Park, where the British and American camps still stand as a reminder that sometimes the only thing standing between peace and total annihilation is a little bit of common sense and a very expensive fence. If you enjoyed this trip through the haze, hit that like button and subscribe for more history that proves truth is weirder than fiction. Tell me in the comments, what's the smallest thing you've ever seen someone blow out of proportion? I'll see you in the next one.